Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Sick Podcast, Rocket Report. Unfortunately, the Rocket season ended earlier than we would have liked it to. But nonetheless, it was a historic season for the Laval Rocket, and we're going to talk all about that. Lots of positives to draw from this season. We're going to talk about the regular season as well as the playoffs and what went wrong against the Charlotte Checkers ultimately. So all that and so much more right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Rocket Report.
That's it!
The sickest Laval Rocket podcast. It's gonna be sick.
That's right, producer Shane here, joined by the voice of your Laval Rocket, Anthony Marcotte. Anthony, how'd you enjoy Charlotte? How was that?
Well, it's a nice city that I know pretty well because I go there each and every year for racing purposes. We're in NASCAR Mecca in Charlotte, just a little north of the city. So I used my Monday off to rent a car and made myself a pretty nice trip visiting NASCAR shops and everything. This places that I already visited, but it's always fun to go there. You see new stuff every time you visit those shops.
Yeah.
So I made a few stops along the way. Made my way to the Charlotte Motor Speedway as well, which is an enormous racing site. Where's there the super speedway, a 1.5 mile long oval racetrack, and then on the other side there's a dirt track where I go each and every November, and on the other side of it there's a drag strip, the biggest drag strip in the world. It's in Charlotte.
Wow.
You can send 4 different cars at the same time. There's 25,000 people that can sit in the stands. So it's an awesome site. For all motorsports fans, Charlotte Motor Speedway is the destination to see once in a lifetime for sure.
Wow. Hey, at least someone enjoyed their time in Charlotte, because the Laval Rocket, I don't think, enjoyed it very much. And I don't think they enjoyed playing at the Bojangles Arena or whatever it's called there either. You were there. How was the ice condition? Because from watching it on TV, it looked terrible. But I mean, you probably had a better view than I did, right?
Well, the old building is terrible. We shouldn't bother about saying the right words. I mean, it's a terrible barn that needs a lot of love. It's an old building. They play there since, I think it's been since 2015. So it's been 10 years now that they've been playing on a regular basis at Bojangles. But it's late in the year, in June. It's hot outside. And then when it's filled up with people, it's really hot. And I was pretty high in the sky near the top of the building. And I never sweated as much calling a game on the radio. It was crazy. I'm used to wearing a suit for games, but it was only a shirt at the end. And if I could have done it even less clothed, I would have done it. So it was a tough barn to play in because ice quality clearly wasn't what we're used to see. But it's the same situation for both teams.
Exactly. No, we're not blaming that on the Rocket
No.
losing. Okay, let's not put words where they're not. But just an observation that the ice quality looked awful from the TV screen, and you're telling me that it was even worse in person. So, not great. But anyways,
Well,
we're gonna talk.
on the clinch and goal, I think the ice quality clearly maybe had something to say about what happened because the puck really slowed dramatically going to Jacob Fowler's way. He hesitated making his move forward to maybe play the puck, but it's Zach Hayes who touched it first, giving the puck to Jesse Puljujärvi with the result that everyone saw. A dagger for sure to see that the season going away on that goal, but it's hockey, it happens, and now we just need to turn the page and already focus for next year.
Exactly. No, I mean, it's terrible way to end a playoff series, but hey, that's how hockey goes, right? You get bounces and sometimes you don't get the bounces, but I mean, there was so many people falling all over the ice. The puck was slowing down in random moments. It was just a really weird place to play. I feel kind of bad for the players as well who have to go through that, but hey, like you said, both teams do, so it's not exactly an unfair advantage for either team. Listen, before we get talking about that series and all what ultimately went wrong for the Laval Rocket, I want to give a bit of time for our partner here at the SIG podcast, that being Betway. And yes, you can still go all the way with Betway, and you can get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. You can scan that QR code on the screen, or you can click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Now, the offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. Anthony, the best team in the AHL in the regular season, the Laval Rocket, were swept in 4 games in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Charlotte Checkers, who, let's not forget, finished 3rd in the AHL in the regular season. So it's not that much of an upset. Like, this is still a really good team. But I think a lot of people were just surprised by how quickly the Laval Rocket went out. I mean, 4 straight losses. And okay, game 4 was a little tighter, right? It was 2-2, but with 2 minutes left to go. But ultimately, what do you think went wrong in this series for the Rocket?
We can say different things about what really went wrong in this series. I thought they were much more experienced for sure. That's a fact. Their depth were really in their favor, no doubt. I think they were a much more experienced team. Each and every flaw that Laval showed every night, I thought they were exploited by their opponent. So you got to give them credit. And they really set the tone in game number 1, where they decide to play physically and to tell the Rocket, hey, all the shenanigans that you showed against Rochester, it won't work against us. They were a well-prepared team. They probably saw what the team did with Devin Levi against Rochester, the way that they tried to play inside his head. Each and every whistle, they were talking to the goaltender, but the Checkers did the exact opposite. Like, they played right in the same playbook of the Laval Rocket, what they did good in the first 2 rounds. And I really think the old dressing room were like shell shock about the way the other team was playing pretty much the same kind of hockey style or something in the series, but more physically, bigger out there, and like a lot more experience. And all the way until the end, the Checkers were the better team on the ice for sure. I think maybe Laval could have went to game number 5. It was, I think they deserve to at least win game number 4. But would they have been able to win 2 consecutive games on the road to bring the series back in Laval? I don't think so. The team was decimated defensively. That was one of the main points that we can talk about. It's that it was a shell of what we've seen early on in the year. We thought that defense would be the main factor in Laval's way, but at the end, when you're missing Waterspoon, you're missing Trudeau, you lose Lindstrom in game number 4, and you know that Mailloux is playing with an injury. I mean, it was not the same kind of defense score that we're used to see all year.
No, that's it. And injuries. It's hard. It's unfortunate to say, but they did play a factor in this series. I mean, you lose Witherspoon, you lose Trudeau, you lose Dauphin, you lose Simoneau, you lose Gustav Lindstrom, and like you said, there were other players that were playing with injuries, so they weren't at 100%. Logan Mailloux being one of those. That I mean, at one point, like sure, the Laval Rocket have a lot of depth, and they were able to bring in guys like Luke Tuck and Noel Hoffenmeyer and Zach Hayes, and at the end of the last game they brought in Philip Meshar, so they have depth. But at one point, I mean, that does catch up with you. I mean, the amount of injuries, it's just what can you do at this point? It's an unfortunate excuse, but it is one.
No, it is one. You're right. They were serviceable defensemen, right. But can you win a semifinal with Zach Hayes playing like a fifth defenseman and the first guy on the ice on the PK? I don't think so. You need those guys to go through an AHL season. Do you need them to win in the playoffs? That's a step that I can make.
No, exactly. And I think another big factor in this series were special teams. And I englobe special teams because the Laval Rocket allowed 3 shorthanded goals in this series, and they only scored 2 on the power play. That tells me everything right there. I mean, they had a lot of opportunities on the power play. Charlotte was not a very disciplined team by any means, and they were not able to capitalize on that. And not only that, but they allowed 3 shorthanded goals. Now, credit to the Checkers. They earned those goals. They worked hard for them. But at the same time, that's unacceptable. I mean, just allowing 1 is too much. So that's something that, there's going to have to be some adjustments made for next season, some conversations to be had, and a lot of work on those special teams, right?
Yeah, even before the series, I think like Charlotte had already 4 or 5 PK goal during their playoff run. They were well aware of that excellence. They were the better team all year on the PK, scoring goals as well. In the playoffs, that success continued. They were an aggressive kind of team to score goals in that situation, and it worked. And you talk about those 3 goals. It all happened at excellent time for them. In game number 4, you score a goal on that 5-minute major to Riley Bizot, who received a game misconduct for that hit on Gustav Lindstrom. And you don't allow anything, and you take the momentum right from your opponent, scoring that goal, the difference maker. I mean, it became a 2-2 game at that time, so it deflated everyone on the bench, and you knew that it would be a tough ask to get that win after what happened. When you don't have, you don't capitalize on that 5-minute major, and you allow a goal, it's so deflating.
Yeah, no, that's you can't win. You can't win when your differential on the special teams is -1. That's you can't win. So, anyways, look, that was the Charlotte series. I don't think it's worth talking that much more about it because Laval did not win a single game, and we want to make the show as positive as it can be because it is a positive season for the Laval Rocket. And let's not forget that they ultimately did go to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, usually, when a team goes that far, you celebrate that. That's a pretty good accomplishment. So let's talk a little bit about those playoffs, those 3 rounds. I mean, the first 2 went Laval's way, third did not. But overall, I mean, there's a lot of players that impressed in these playoffs specifically. Who comes to mind first and foremost to you?
Well, I think the most surprising player in that run was Adam Engstrom, who I thought was excellent in most of his games.
Yeah.
You can tell that the guy was able to find another level in his play. He was one of the first players that Pascal Vincent talked about in his recap of the season yesterday, and it was well deserved. I thought that he played excellent hockey throughout the playoffs. He became a reliable guy that you can send on the ice in whatever situations that you want. He played on the power play, play on the PK. I thought he was good at 5-on-5, especially on breakouts with his excellent skating. And like I said earlier on, we talked about him in other podcasts, but I see a young Mike Madison inside of him. Madison played a bit in the AHL before making the step. So I wouldn't put Engstrom aside for next training camp. He's going to get a strong look from Montreal for sure, because
Yeah.
you can't avoid what he did in those playoffs, because he was better than most players. I think he might have been the best Rocket players through the playoffs.
Oh, he was phenomenal. I mean, there was one game that I thought he was like a little off by his
Yes.
standard, of course, because you know what, he's accustomed us to playing some really damn good hockey, and he went right back to that right after. He was definitely a very steady player for the Laval Rocket, and impressive. I say this every time we talk about him, but it's his first season in the AHL. Like, let's not forget, this guy's not a veteran at all. Like, he is
No.
a rookie, and he's doing all of that. Puck handling, skating, the vision he had. I mean, that one goal he prepared there, we circled around the net and he got it back to I forget who it was, but that those kinds of play. I mean, that's key, and that's Adam Engstrom, and it's
And he's
impressive to
still
see him
really
do that.
young. 21
Exactly.
years of age.
Yeah.
He's going to be 22 only November, so he's still a really young player. Nice potential, but he just needs to have a little bit of physical strength, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think he has that a little bit of sandpaper in his game. He
Mhm.
likes to involve
Oh
himself
yeah.
physically. He just don't have the physical strength to be like the kind of defenseman that has to be respected that way each
Hmm.
and every shift. But we saw really good team things all year for Adam Engstrom, and I expect to see him back for second season next year. But he's going to bring boys more confidence to his play for his second year in North America. And I think Engstrom could get his first games in the NHL somewhere down the line.
I wouldn't be surprised. He'd definitely be high up on my call up list. That's for sure. And it's a good point you mentioned about his physicality, right? That typically skill players like Adam Engstrom don't exactly involve themselves in one-on-one battles and physical play, but he did, and he threw some big hits. And he's got a
Yes.
good frame. I mean, he's about 6'1", 6'2", right? But like you said, he still needs to fill out a bit more, still a bit slender. But once he does, I mean, that's an NHL caliber defenseman right there. So very,
And
very encouraging for the Rocket.
man, just his skating will give himself a chance.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
glides.
He glides on the ice. He's fast, and the NHL ain't getting slower by the day.
That's
You
it.
need
Yeah,
quick skaters in all positions, and only for that asset, I think he has a chance.
for sure, for sure. And if we stay with the defensive core here, I mean, there's two more that Habs fans are very keen on, right? That they're hoping they're the future of the organization. That being Logan Mailloux and David Reinbacher, both finished the playoffs with 6 points in 13 games. Um, you know, Mayu was a bit up and down, right? He had games where he was by far the best player on the ice, where he actually won games for the team, and other times he actually lost the game for the Habs for the Rockets. Sorry, so it was a little bit of a roller coaster for him. Reinbacher, on the other hand, I thought was a lot more steady, maybe not as much high, but still, less lows. And it's encouraging to see that he was able to do that, considering his injury. And now he revealed that there's still a bit of swelling in his knee, but he said it's like 99.5% good. That's what he said, or something like that. So I think it's encouraging to see that he was able to do all of that in the playoffs, coming back from such a major injury.
Yeah, before talking about Mayu, I think the Reinbacher's case is really important, Shane, because
Yeah.
I wasn't really convinced by what he told us yesterday about
Yeah.
his situation. Because when you need to add that, oh, I think it's 99.5. Well, the 0.5% is still I don't know. I don't know how you saw uh, what he said, or what you think about it. But on my side of things, it's like when he came back, there were still doubts about the way he could handle the pressure and could handle the games. It's no wonder why they decided to shut him down a couple of times. He even took 3 weeks off at the end of the season where everyone thought, well, we're getting ready for the playoffs. So he's going to play, but sometimes we're going to rest him. But at a time in April, he didn't play for 3 consecutive weeks. So at that time, I was worried about his situation. It was not a new injury; it was still the same issue about his knee. But they they voluntarily hidden a couple of things because they probably were worried themselves, but they didn't want to add some speculation with the fans about his situation because he's such an important part of that rebuilding process in Montreal. And I understand why people are talking about Reinbacher because he's a good player. We know his potential. As a right shot, big guy, plays physical. He's a good skater as well, good hockey IQ. He has a lot of physical attributes that we can tell already that he has that strong NHL potential, but he needs to be healthy. And it's not the same the first time that he's getting issues with his knee. So he went under the knife. There was swelling at all times. He still has some issues with his knee. After every game, I saw him with icing his knee. So, but hey, I'm not a medical expert. It's probably normal after that kind of surgery to have some swelling for a couple of months afterwards, especially when you ramp things up and you play on it, and then there's a physical toll. But on the other side, hey, we lost 4 defensemen during those playoffs, and David Reinbacher weren't one of them. So I think just that it's a nice thing. But I would have hoped that the guy would go during summer camp to prepare for next year because it will come quick in September with no doubt in his mind. But he's still thinking about his knee. So that's the only thing that is still a head scratcher for me, and I hope for the best for Reinbacher because I really think he has that potential.
Exactly. And I think you mentioned that he's going back home to train in the summer and rehab, if you will, just get his knee to 100%, right? That 0.5, it's still not 100. So hopefully he's able to do that and have a good summer of training and strength conditioning and all that good stuff. Because like you said, he is an important part of not only the Rocket team, but the future for the Montreal Canadiens. Very key player. And you know what? If he's able to do that at 99.5%, I'm looking forward to what he can do at 100%. I like them a lot in these playoffs. And back to Logan Mailloux now, bit polarizing, if you will. Right, like I said, he stole some games. I mean, he has that ability in him where he can elevate his game and be the best player on the ice. But sometimes it just doesn't work. I mean, that inconsistency. And he said it himself. He called himself out, and I appreciate that a lot. He said that, he still needs to work on his consistency, and he's getting close to the NHL. But I think that's the one thing that he's just missing.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. He wasn't... he didn't shy away from his own critics yesterday, and it's a good thing. Yeah. I thought he completely took the Cleveland series over. He was the best player for the Rocket.
Easily.
Easily. He started pretty good against Rochester, and then it almost fell off a cliff in his play. And then he got injured. So, and it was a pretty severe injury. So probably a rib cage injury. I don't have any confirmation about it, but if you have trouble breathing when you're playing, I think it's not good. And they needed Mailloux, especially with Witherspoon and Trudeau not able to play. And you can tell at the end he was playing like the 5th or 6th defenseman out there, almost no special units. So he's the guy that was there from the beginning, playing on the first power play unit, and he wasn't there at the end. So he was battling something. He didn't practice the last couple of occasions that he had. Even on morning skates, he was not on the ice. But he took. He was part of the games. He played the games until the end. But you're right. Consistency is the issue. He started so strong, and you can tell that he was knocking on the door for the NHL at the beginning, and then at the end, you see why people have some doubts about Mailloux to establish himself in the NHL. So I'm in the middle. Does the answer fits right in the middle of what we saw during those playoffs? Probably.
Yeah.
But he's tantalizing for every team for sure. Like physical, big skater, right shot defenseman.
Yeah.
If Montreal wants to trade him, somebody will bite on
Oh.
Mailloux for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is he the kind of player that you need to put inside a deal for the second centerman that everyone is talking about? Probably. If you make a trade for that kind of a center, Mayu is probably part of that deal. But do you really want to trade him when there's still a blatant spot on the right side of Montreal's defense at the beginning of next year to replace David Savard? I don't think that guy is Reinbacker yet for
Mm-hmm.
the same reasons that we talked about. I think he needs to have some mileage on his body at the beginning of
Yeah.
the year. Play some games and be that number one defenseman in Laval. And if you're that good, well, maybe we're going to call you up in December or January. I think he needs at least 3 or 4 months of AHL hockey before being a full-time NHLer. I think he needs it, not
Mhm.
because he's not good enough to play. It's just because he needs to play.
Of course. Yeah. Exactly. It's kind of like Mailloux in a sense because he missed a bunch of time in junior, right? It's
Yeah.
COVID, all that stuff. I mean, he also needed a bit of time in Laval, and we'll see if he's able to make the jump next season. But I agree on Reinbacker's point, and in trading Mailloux, and look, we're gonna have some shows in the off season talking about potential trades and who's gonna graduate. Right, we'll leave that for then. But I mean, just the idea of trading Mailloux, and I see him in a lot of mock trades this summer so far. Look, on right-handed defensemen in the organization, you have Alex Carrier, Logan Mailloux, David Reinbacker. That's it. That's it. Those are the only right-handed defensemen in the organization. It's not a good idea to trade him unless you get another right-handed defenseman in return. But again, with that profile and with that upside that he has, that he can take over games. Okay, I'm not in favor of trading him. But anyways, we'll get to that at another show for sure. It's going to be a big discussion. Yeah.
But it looks evident that Montreal will make a deal for a right shot. A veteran right shot defenseman that will
have to think,
hold the spot that Savard was playing in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's if Montreal decides to go on the market on July 1st, I think they will look to find a right shot defenseman. And I know there are not a lot of them available, and a lot of teams will look for a right shot, but depth-wise, you need one, and I don't think you can tell right now that Mailloux and Reinbacker, these are the guys that you will play on the second and third pairing at the beginning of the season. I don't think it's the right way to see things.
No, that's it. You might even have to play.
Yeah, you don't promote two rookies defensively to start the season, especially if you want to make a step forward for next year.
No, exactly. And you might even have to play a left-handed defenseman on the right side. We saw Lane Hutson do that at the end of the season. And you know what? He did pretty well with Caden Gooley, so I guess that's an option. But that remains to be seen. But now if we switch over to the forward group, because there were a lot of players, notable players who stood out in these playoffs. And, stat-wise, the leaders were Alex Barré-Boulet, 11 points in 13 games. Joshua Roy, when he unlocked, as we predicted, he unlocked 10 points in 13 games after a rough start. Sean Farrell, also 10 points, 13 games. Laurent Dauphin had 9 points. Oliver Kapanen had 6. Owen Beck had 6, right? So these offensive players did show up. Any in particular that you really liked and more than the others?
Well, I thought that Roy really stepped his game up a notch in the second and third round. He was probably the best Laval forward during that semifinal, so that's a good thing. He made some good offensive plays, and I don't think he was rewarded enough with the kind of offense that he was bringing each and every night. He has a lot of critics. And sometimes he deserves it, sometimes not. He's still a fifth-round draft pick for Montreal, and sometimes people tend to forget how late he was a draft pick. He was drafted even later than the Florent Jacques. So can we? I don't know. How do you evaluate things? With we know that he has a big talent to play in the
Of
NHL, but
course.
he needs to improve the pace of his play, and even talked about conditioning himself yesterday. So, and it's a good thing if he can look himself in the mirror and decides that he needs to make put more effort into his conditioning this summer to make himself a better option for the NHL. Well, that's a good thing. He was a slow starter in the playoffs. He was the first one to admit, but until the end, but at the end, he was a reliable factor that you can tell was able to make the difference. So I thought for Joshua White, it was a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. And, I was encouraged to see Oliver Kapanen as well, right? He had been playing a lot of hockey this season, so it would have been normal for him to kind of slow down and not really look adjusted. And maybe in the first few games, he was a bit off, but I thought as the playoffs progressed, I guess he fit better in the team. He found a little bit of chemistry and he was able to produce offensively. I'm very interested in this player's potential because he's a right-handed center. So is Owen Beck. So is Nick Suzuki. And so is Jake Evans, right? So at one point, you kind of need a left-handed center in there. I don't know what sets him apart, how he fits in the Canadiens' plans moving forward. He's a very interesting player to me. Do you think he'll be starting the next season in Laval, or do you think he'll go back to Montreal to start next season?
Well, that's where I disagree a little bit with what you just said about Kapanen. I think he's my main disappointments offensively during those playoffs. I thought it would be a bigger impact, especially with the kind of ice time that they gave him at the end. He was the first line center playing first power play, but I didn't see any offense from him. And he had some good opportunities, but he couldn't bury it. And I watched 3 of his games in the playoffs in the SHL, the series that Tim Rupp played against Frölunda. He made an impact. We saw him offensively, but he couldn't bury it. And we saw the same kind of player in Laval. And sometimes the guy, he has some chances, but can't bury it. Will it be that kind of a player in North America? I don't know. He has a couple of tough games, I thought, but they gave himself a lot of chances to find his way until the end, and I don't think he was really good in game number 4 as well. But they stuck with him. They played him at center all throughout that series with no results. So it's been a subpar performance for me. I understand the stats. 6 points is all right, but I thought he would be better. So, and I don't see him breaking camp with Montreal like he did this year for sure. I think there's a few players in front of him, and I think Montreal can jump on a free agent market to bring depth at center position. And if you want depth, well, I think Lucas Condotta is a legit option to be that kind of 13th forward in Montreal next year. Can play on the wing, can play at center. He's a guy that everyone revolves around him, really appreciated. And what we saw in the playoffs, I think he can bring that game in the NHL. He's not the fastest skater, but boy, is he good to protect the puck offensively down low and help his teammates getting offensive opportunities. So I wouldn't shy away from Lucas Condotta at training camp because I think he'll get a good look from the organization.
That's it. And that third line, right? The dog line, I like to call them, with Condotta and Simoneau and Harvey Pinard. They were so effective in these playoffs, and it's not really going to reflect on the score sheet, but anybody who watched the games can tell you those 3 had a big impact.
Yes.
And I like that you mentioned Condotta. However, he is wearing the C. So I don't know if the Rocket players and the Rocket organization really want to see him not with the team. But for him, I mean, it would be a great opportunity.
I don't know. I don't think it would change a thing, Shane, because each and every time they gave a C to a player, except Gabriel Bork, who had an AHL contract, so it's a little bit different. But all the other captains, Byron Fraze or Xavier Ouellet, they were called up and they didn't come back inside the season, so they kept him, and we lost our captain in Laval. So I don't think it's part of the questioning of the organization. Oh, he's our captain, needs to play there. I hope not. You got to give your captain a chance to play. If he's able to play, why not? And I think Lucas Condotta deserves a really good look.
I agree. He was great in the playoffs. Absolutely loved them. Anthony, quickly, let's talk a little bit about the goalies, right? Because I think every show we've talked about the goalie situation and the rotation, and it's pretty interesting because Jacob Fowler single-handedly won the series against Cleveland, and then Caden Primo single-handedly won the series against Rochester, and then they both lost the series against the Checkers. Neither of them were able to get a win. What do you make of the goaltending here? I mean, it was a really strange rotation that we're not used to seeing in the playoffs, really. Who kind of disappointed, impressed? I mean, what do you make of all this?
Yes, it's a tough call because I thought Fowler was really good against Cleveland. He wasn't supposed to start the playoffs. He was there for the first two games because of Primo's called up in Montreal. So that's good. Great experience. And then we start a series against Rochester. Two tough starts for Fowler, and it's Primo that wins the series. They decide to make their bed with Primo. He starts the first three games against Charlotte. He lost three of them, got shelled from two of those games, the games 2 and 3. And then Fowler got the call for game number 4. He was pretty good. He didn't like the third goal, but I mean, was he really responsible? I don't think so. No. So, I mean, great for Fowler. He got that experience in the playoffs that almost nobody thought it would happen. So he played a couple of games and he played good in most of them. And in Primo's case, he was the guy that was the go-to guy all throughout the second part of the season with that an incredible record. I thought he was deserving to be played. He was mostly good until that semifinals where everything fell off the cliff. Was not good against Charlotte. He would be the first to admit under 800 save percentage, so that's not good. So unfortunately, it didn't end like he expected, and it might be the end of the line for Caden Primo with the organization. And I think a divorce between both parties would be good. I don't think Montreal really want to keep Primo around. No. And in Primo's case, I think he would want to see if another organization would be looking forward to give himself a chance in the NHL. So it's a head scratcher to see what they will do in Primo's case because he's 26. He's a restricted free agent with arbitration rights, so he doesn't have full control about his own destiny. If Montreal wants to keep him, qualify him, it could go to arbitration. I don't think Primo has a big case because he didn't play good at the beginning of the season in the NHL and in the season in the AHL. So do you really want to bring that case in front of an arbiter? I don't think so. So we'll see how it goes. And Raphaël Harvey-Pinard is in the exact same situation. Arbitration rights for him. If you want to qualify him, it's a $1 million or so contract. So I don't think Montreal will decide to keep their options on Harvey-Pinard. Primo is different a bit because he's a goaltender, but Harvey-Pinard at that salary, with the way the season went, with only a couple of games in the NHL, I think only one makes himself probably a well-rounded free agent on July 1st.
Raphaël Harvey-Pinard, I mean, he's an interesting case because we remember his exploits with the Canadiens, right? He when he played on the line with Suzuki and he wouldn't stop scoring, and we all thought, okay, well, this guy's got NHL potential, like he'll be a part of the solution here. And then injuries and bad luck, and really he couldn't get it going this season. And in the playoffs was kind of the same, right? His relentless work ethic, his relentless effort, irreproachable. I mean, you can't say that Harvey Pinard didn't try, but I mean, 3 points in 13 games for a guy that's supposed to bring offense, it's just not good enough. And ultimately, I don't think that there is a spot for him moving forward. And it's unfortunate to say because, I mean, this guy's just so likable, and you want him to succeed, right? He's one of those guys you just want to root for.
Yeah, I wonder if Montreal could offer him an AHL contract. I don't think Raphael would want to sign that kind of a contract. I think he's the kind of player that can sign a two-way contract elsewhere. And you're right. It was good playoffs for him, but he couldn't capitalize on his chances that he got. No goals during the playoffs for Raphael. And he told us yesterday, and I think he's well aware of what didn't work for him this year. He just lost a step. And he wasn't a really fast skater from the get-go, but he lost a step because of these two injuries, major injuries to the same leg. So it's going to be an important summer for him. And he told us that power skating would be a part of his summer just to find his game back. He thought that his offensive kind of game was subpar through the playoffs, but defensively, and he's right, he was the same kind of reliable guy that will block shots and do whatever it takes to protect his own net. So he has a lot of good qualities for the AHL. Can he come back as an NHL player? I have my doubts, but the guy is full of character and has a heart bigger than Plasbel. So these kind of guys, sometimes when you give themselves a challenge, well, sometimes because of their character, they can overcome a lot of stuff. So best of luck to Raphael. I think he's the kind of player that will want to see if something good might happen for him elsewhere. And if it happens, well, good luck and hope for the best. And hopefully he gets another shot.
Absolutely. Well, Anthony, if we take a step back here and analyze the season as a whole, the season that was for the Laval Rocket, I mean, obviously first in the AHL in the regular season and ultimately ends in the Eastern Conference Finals with a team that has so many young players. How big and how crucial of a learning lesson, of an experience was this season for these players?
I think it was really good. I think what was lacking is that we had really good veterans that we lost for injuries during that series. Dauphin and Witherspoon out didn't help matters. But sometimes when you have a strong group of veterans and then pretty much all young players with no middle kind of guys, 25, 26, 27 years of age,
right,
that don't help a team to go far in the playoffs. And that's why it will be important for the organization to keep a few of those players that won't count as veterans, but you keep with your farm team. William Trudeau and Xavier Simoneau, they fall in that category. I think they need to keep these players in the organization because I don't foresee a lot of rookies next year. Maybe Tyler Thorpe. I don't know if he's ready to make the step as a 20-year-old forward. They will probably think hard about it if they send him back to Vancouver in the WHL, or if you bring him in the AHL. And the other signees are Joe Dunlap and Will Deneen. They're kind of depth pieces, already 23, 24 years old, and they might be options to start the year in Trois-Rivières. So these are the players that are coming in. We won't see Vincent Rohrer because he still has the contract in Zurich, so he's not an option. Do you see another option joining the Rocket? I don't see anyone else. So they might sign a couple of players, but I mean, legit options to play on the top 9 or top 4 defensively in Laval as young rookies. I don't see other players. So that's why next year, if you keep a few of those young veterans inside that dressing room, it might help things and make the Rocket again a powerhouse in the AHL, because you're bringing back Dauphin. So it's another good asset. Vincent Arsenault will be back. Tyler Witherspoon told us yesterday that he was looking forward for a new contract. They already had discussions about it, and he's open to come back for a second season. And you wonder if the organization will try to bring Alex Belzil back. Uh, this is a player that you can bring back into your organization.
Yeah.
Condada will be back probably
Mhm.
as well with another 2-year contract. So the core can be pretty much intact for next year if you really want to keep them.
Exactly. And I mean, you mentioned the rookies. There were so many, sure, like second, third year players, but first year players. Talk about Owen Beck, right? First year player. And he finished with 44 points in 64 games. I thought very, very pleased with his season. Florian Jacki was another rookie, right? 35 points in 69 games, 24 goals, and 175 penalty minutes. Very promising for the young forward here. And Adam Engstrom, right? First season in the AHL, 27 points in 66 games. We talked about him, how much he impressed us. I guess you can consider David Reinbacher a bit of a rookie as well. He hasn't really played. I mean, he played a few games to end last season, played a few games to end this season. Hasn't really had a full AHL season yet. So just a lot of inexperience in this team. And I think this playoff run in particular really did really did them favors in that sense and helped them gain some valuable experience. And in terms of rookies coming in next season, I think it's also worth mentioning Owen Protz can't play yet. They brought him in, right? I know Rocket fans might know that he was around the team and he was working out with them, but he can't play next season. Just putting that out there. So I don't really know that there's going to be any new rookies, right? So that group going into their second, third, fourth season in the AHL, I think will take another step, and it's only up from here. Now, globally, right, including the regular season, let's talk a little bit about some standouts, some players that you really, really enjoyed this season for whatever reason they may be.
Well, the players that you just talked about, they all have a legit chance to be full-time NHLers and play many years in the NHL. Will they all make it? I don't know. The answer belongs to them. They will decide the way that their career will go on. But it's been a joy to call those games all year. The progress of these players were awesome. Jacki is a unicorn. Nick Bobrov was absolutely right
Spot on.
after his draft. What a season for him. I never thought it would be an impact player like he was. And I'm certain that before training camp, even the organization didn't really know what to do with Jacki. I remember last year at the end of the season, I was in Utica, and I talked with Rob Ramage off record, and now I think we can talk about it because we're all over a year afterwards. And Rob told me, "Well, we don't know about Jacki. He can go back." In Hamilton in the OHL as an overager, or we decide to keep him. We really don't know. But my argument to keep the young Jacki was that physically, what does he have to learn going back in the OHL as a 20-year-old? Like
Exactly.
you can really drop the gloves regularly. When you hit, you get banned to the penalty box or you receive game misconduct. So he was too strong physically to go back in the OHL. So it was an excellent decision to keep him.
Yep.
A decision that they won't soon regret. 24 goals doesn't happen a lot. Even beat a record for a rookie as a goal scorer in Laval in 8 years. 24 goals for that kind of a player. So what a joy to see. 175 penalty minutes, but he needs to have physical strength. Jacki still improve his skating, but we don't know the ceiling about Jacki. It might be pretty high. So another year in the AHL, and as a 22-year-old forward, might be the fourth line setter in the foreseeable future in Montreal. Owen Beck
Absolutely.
fits in that category as well. The only thing about Beck that is a head scratcher for me is the way that they utilize him in the playoffs. It was surprising. They played him on the wing, but the best success that he's had this year was playing as a center. That's where he scored his goal. Most of his offensive production was before Christmas. And then after Christmas, he got that recall where he played on the wing in Montreal, which is understandable. But what's not is that when he came back, he played a lot on the wing. And when they drafted him, it was as a center. They really thought that they got maybe a third line center in the NHL, was really good on the face-off. And at the end, in the playoffs, he played on the wing, on a line with Brandon Gignac, that a veteran that you're not really sure about his future in the organization. He might play in Europe next year. So
Mhm.
they push back on the wing, but they decide to keep Kapanen at center. They kept Jacky at center as well, but why not Beck? Is he not your best solution winning faceoffs on both sides? We even saw him on his weaker side decide to switch his stick to be to be better on the faceoff dot. I mean, I think he's a force there, and you still need to develop him against bigger opponents as a center. So that was a head scratcher for me. It might be the only big question that I still have about the way they utilize them in the playoffs. But Pascal Vincent answered us yesterday that it is a way for the organization to see how he can handle himself on the wing. I don't think he was particularly bad. We saw good things about him playing on the wing. He's a physical guy.
Mhm.
It helped him. And I think he helped the team in some way because they didn't have a lot of wingmen that can bang bodies and everything and take over pucks in the offensive zone. That's where Beck was really good in the playoffs. But I really see Owen Beck as a third line kind of center for the in the future, and
Yeah.
I don't see him as a winger for sure.
No, I'm also confused about that situation because we remember one of the best lines that the Rocket had this season was Owen Beck with Jared Davidson and Philip Meshar.
Yeah.
That line together was fantastic. And, things happened and they got broken up and all that. But I thought those
Meshar
three
got
together,
injured, so that didn't help.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
he
that's it.
got injured twice. To put Meshar aside was understandable in the playoffs because I think there were better options than him. But you're right; it was one of the best lines right at the beginning. The first 6 games of the season, these three played really well. We saw them back again together at the end of the season. But and we might see them as a second line next year in Laval when the season will start. Could happen.
It's possible, and let's focus in a little bit about Jared Davidson because he's an unsung hero in my book. 45 points in 69 games. He had a 24 goal season. The goal scoring ability, right? That's really what stood out, and a little disappointing in the playoffs. Only 3 points in 13 games, but regular season he was outstanding. I thought he really showed some promise. Physical as well, right? He uses his body. He's not afraid to get nasty. But that shot, I mean, that is an NHL caliber shot that he has, and going back to that line, I like that chemistry that he built with Owen Beck and Philip Meshar.
Yeah, and Davidson brings some sandpaper too to a hockey game, and
Mhm.
that's a good thing to see because if he wants to make a step in the NHL, it will probably be on the fourth line on the
Yeah.
wing. So if he can bring on a regular basis that kind of sandpaper, it will help him for sure. He has a legit shot. You're right. He just looked out of breath at the end of the season because
Yeah.
remember, I see Davidson almost like a rookie. I know it was his second year, but last year he got two major injuries during the season, just like Meshar. It happened this year. So
Mhm.
it's just a year and a half for him in the AHL. So that's not a lot of experience. I think he will be a really, really good player for this team next year.
Absolutely.
Still under
Absolutely. Well,
contract for a year next year.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So, no, Jared Davidson, I mean, the young guys, really, the young guys, and that's really what Habs fans were hoping would happen this season, that the young future players would step up and have a good year. And I think mission accomplished on that
Yeah.
front.
And
Anthony,
in Davidson's case, Shane,
yeah,
I think he was really close from getting a call up somewhere this year. He
hey,
was in absolute
I'm not
fire in
surprised.
Laval.
Yeah.
It didn't happen, but it came close. I'm pretty sure about that. Another injury in Montreal could have opened the first door for him in the
Mhm.
NHL. And I think he's a guy that might play games next year.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. No, that's it.
Yeah.
At one point, he was arguably the best player on the team, and he was on fire, like you said. So, well deserving of a call up. I wouldn't be surprised if it would happen this season, this upcoming season. But Anthony, I think the theme of this season for me, and the biggest takeaway I get was the come from behind wins. I don't have the number with me, but I know it's very high. The amount of times that the Laval Rocket trailed in a game, came back to win the game was outstanding. I mean, it shows incredible tenacity, internal belief, and I credit Pascal Vincent for that. First season as a head coach with the Laval Rocket with a young group, as I just mentioned, a ton of young players on this team. It would be normal to have a rough year, right? They were always in games, always, even when they were trailing. That to me was the biggest bright spot of this year.
Yeah, you're right. I think the stat is like 7 or 8 come from behind wins only in the third period. So that's massive.
Crazy.
The team was losing in the third, but was able to overcome and win on in regular or overtime. So that was impressive. You're right. All year it was the comeback kids. They were able to come back in March. I think at the end of March they did it 3 consecutive times. It was crazy to see. It was one of the bright spots of the season. The team was always in it. And for the fans, it was a treat to watch each and every night because you know that the guys will battle hard to come back in the third, and it happened a lot of times.
Exactly. No, and to end the show, I think it's worth taking a bit of time to talk about the head coach Pascal Vincent. Yesterday, there was a lot of discussion about him because his future with the team is uncertain, right? There might be offers to coach in the NHL, but he said that he is a head coach, not an assistant coach, and that it would take a huge offer to get him out of Laval. Clearly, he likes being here and he wants to be here next year. Do you think that will be the case?
Well, there's no other vacancies as a head coach in the NHL. All the doors have been closed now with Marco Sturm's nomination in Boston, Dan Muse in Pittsburgh as well. I thought Pittsburgh might be a good opportunity for Pascal, but it didn't happen. We will never know how. If the team was eliminated earlier, would he have better chances to become to get hired elsewhere as a head coach? We don't know. And like you said, he will wait for the best opportunity that he can have in the NHL. But if it's not, he'll come back voluntarily and be that head coach in Laval. He sees that market as an excellent spot to still be a head coach and be close from his family. And it will take an excellent offer to accept to go back in the NHL and be an assistant coach. He sees himself as a head coach, and if he wants to keep the job, everyone will welcome him back with open arms.
Well, when you win the head coach of the year award, I think I think he's got his spot here, and Laval fans will gladly welcome him back. What a season for Pascal Vincent! What a season for the Laval Rocket. Ends earlier than we would have liked, but overall, so many positives to draw from, and
even
folks,
a new podcast deservedly all around the team.
Come on, like that's something, right? Who's doing a podcast on an AHL team, right? Like we are, and we loving it, and we hope that you're loving it as well. Let us know in the comments who was your favorite player from this season, and what's your biggest takeaway from the Laval Rocket season as a whole. Folks, we're not stopping in the offseason. All right. Let me tell you right now, we're not stopping. If anything, we're going to crank it up a notch. All right. We have so much stuff in store for you. It's not even funny. We're going to talk a little more about the season that was. We're going to talk about the season that is coming. We're going to talk mock trades. We're going to talk roster changes. We're going to react to whatever happens. We're going to talk some draft as well. Don't forget, the draft is like 20 days away. So we're going to talk some draft, and we're going to have some special guests for you. I'm not revealing anything just yet. I'm just teasing. We're going to have some special guests, and we might even do it en français. We'll see about that. We're going to work things out, but it's going to be a fun summer here at the Sick Podcast Rocket Report. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got that notification bell turned on. Make sure you're following us on Twitter as well to get all your updates at Sick Pod Rocket. Anthony, I hope you enjoy your summer, relaxing a little bit, but I also selfishly, I'm looking forward to working with you here on this show. Anything else to add before we get out of here?
Well, I'll take a couple of weeks of vacations and come back after the draft on air at BPM Sport, starting on the 30th of June. So for I think it's my 8th year anchoring the morning show on BPM. So it will be a fun summer as well. A little less weeks on air because I have a couple of vacations to take. I'm used to be on vacation at the beginning of June. But it was not the case because of that push in the playoffs for the team. So it's a good thing. But now I need to take care of my family a little bit. I have a lot of other stuff to do. But we'll find some time for sure to record a couple of podcasts through the summer for sure, especially after July 1st. Because there's July 1st for the NHL team, but there's a July 1st for the AHL team as well. And sometimes it's busier for the AHL team on July 1st, and it's a fun thing to do because sometimes the hirings on July 1st goes under the radar. But I was certain on July 1st that Tyler Wotherspoon's signing would be excellent for the team, and I was right. So I think we're there to talk about those players that will fly under the radar on July 1st, but could be really helpful for the Laval Rocket.
Ooh, it's going to be a fun summer. And obviously, whatever the Montreal Canadiens decide to do will affect the Laval Rocket in one way or another. So we're going to talk about that as well. It got lots and lots of stuff in store for you. So we hope you enjoy. We hope you're tuning in. That'll do it for us today, but we'll be back shortly. Don't forget that. For Anthony Marcotte, I'm producer Shane. Thank you to Juliana at Master Control. This has been another edition of the SIG Podcast Rocket Report. Let's go Rockets.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the SIG Podcast Rocket Report on YouTube, X, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.